Hi, and welcome again to this latest episode of La Plata, Ward 4 Update Podcast and Video. This is David Jenkins, La Plata Town Council member from Ward 4, and your host for these podcasts and videos, now available on YouTube and YouTube Music. This episode is about some additional information about our current and adopted fiscal 2025 budget, specifically some performance indicators of how we do in our budget. This is the second in a series of podcasts and videos about the town's budget and how we prepare the budget. The first podcast was issued or posted on December 16th of last year, hard to believe that it's a new year, which provided how we prepare or will prepare the upcoming 2026 budget, which included a calendar of town council meetings where we'll have work sessions, which you can view online or in person, or you can watch the recording. Some basic budget definitions, our different funds, our revenue sources, and then how we spend that money or how we spend your tax dollars. And then finally, what is our capital improvements plan? What is it? So this and later episodes, again, this will be a series, will provide information and transparency as we, the Town Council, start to prepare our fiscal 2026 budget. Now this particular episode is going to talk about and highlight specific departments and how they perform, not only in providing services to you, but also how they do during the budget year. So let's get started. I'm not going to go through every single department, but I do want to highlight some. But I also want to give you an idea, so it gives you some information about how our departments do and how your tax dollars are being spent. So let's first look at an example. This is legislative services. This is where we have our town clerk and our director of legislative services. So each department or function has this kind of information in our current budget and future budgets. So we have our budgeted positions by fiscal year. So we go back as far back as fiscal year 2023 to the current adopted budget, which is fiscal year 2025. So you get an idea of the how many persons are in that department and how they change over the budget year. They do have indicators based upon workload and what they mean, and that goes as far back as fiscal year 2018. In this particular instance, because of legislative services and what they do, they get involved in staffing various boards and committees. Those members, they get involved in revising our zoning ordinance or other ordinances. They prepare town resolutions and whatever as part of the town council process. But also an important performance indicator, in my view, is expenditures per capita. That is, what does that particular function spend per person in the town of La Plata, or per capita. So you can see here, there's a trend that talks about all the functions they do as far back as 2018, all the way through 2023. And you can see how that's increased for this particular agency or function that is legislative services. So let's go on and get started on some other departments or functions within the town. Again, administration, that's the town manager and assistant town manager. Again, you can see what their workload is over the last number of years. Their per capita expenditures, per capita, and percent of total town expenditures. So that's important to look at how this particular or other functions are within our operating budget. And you'll see quite a bit of differences when I get to the police and other big agencies or big functions. So let's look at finance. You can see what the staff of that is. There'll be two slides here so you can see the number of folks that are budgeted and have been hired, or what is budgeted staff-wise. We are making some current hires right now as we speak during this particular podcast. Again, these are their workload and performance indicators. So each year we have to have an audit done. You can see all the other functions they do in terms of the finance department. So you see again expenditures per capita, which has increased, and then the total percent of town expenditures within the operating budget. It's been hovering anywhere from 8 to 7% since 2018. That's a major function. Human resources. I would note that this particular position is new in that we budgeted and we hired a full-time human resources professional that started work a little over a year ago. So that's reflected in the FY24 and FY25 budget. And you can see what that particular workload and what the performance indicators are in terms of retention rate, positions advertised, that's turnover, appreciation, different events, and then again, per capita, it's increased significantly because we never really had anybody devoted full time to HR, and as you can well imagine, it's gotten extremely complex. So we felt we needed somebody on a full-time basis, not necessarily a part-time. And you can see again on the percent of town expenditures. Again, this is a big department, planning. So you see the staff. We've had some turnover. In fact, you may or may not know that our planning director resigned in September. We're in the process of advertising and hiring a new planning director. We do have an interim planning director who's a retired professional planner, and so she's been doing a great job filling in, but we have advertised and are seeking candidates for that particular position. So, and you know, it's a major function within the town. So you can see all the things they do in terms of applications, their reviews, zoning reviews, site plans, conservation, stormwater. I mean, these again, they have to enforce the subdivision regulations as well as the zoning ordinance. So you can see how that's increased over the years on a per capita basis, and the expenditures percentage-wise is anywhere from 4 to 5% each year. Let's go and look at IT, information technology. This is literally brand new. We budgeted that for the current budget year. We have somebody in the position. Unfortunately, she's leaving already to take another job at the federal level in the Department of Defense. But again, that's something we felt we needed somebody full-time, and giving the cyber attacks and other stresses on our infrastructure, our information technology system. So we have funded that, and again, we're advertising for that position as well. So the numbers are a little low in terms of over the last number of years because we really didn't have anybody full-time. We had a consulting firm, and again, we felt that needed a full-time attention, so that's what we've done. So the numbers are, in terms of per capita and percent of town expenditures, is low, and I suspect that'll increase next year when we prepare the fiscal 2026 budget. General services, and that's probably unknown the most. It's really those costs or expenditures that's spread across the town operating system. Is not really one department or agency. I just showed it there so you could know what that is, and we have that. Police, again, and I may have given you this example in my previous post in December. I'll see a huge issue and a huge function within the town, public safety and police. So you can see the positions. So we have increased a little bit over the years. There's been some turnover, but we've been fortunate that we've kind of plugged the hole in that, and we seem to be doing a better job of retaining personnel, and as well as attracting new recruits into the system. But just so you know, it's extremely expensive to hire and train a new police officer, but we're managing so far. So that just kind of gives you the personnel. This next slide talks about the per capita expenditure, so it's increased significantly since FY 2018, and then the percent of town expenditures again is high. From a low of 36 to almost 40%, 39% under the current adopted budget. And again, that's a big function, keeping our residents safe. It also includes, safety at different public events. It's coordination with the Charles County Sheriff's Office and other police agencies. So it's a pretty big, important function for public safety in the town. And this is important because these are the actual numbers. I know folks have asked for this, and there are some numbers that are posted every month at our town council meeting. The police chief provides a monthly summary, but he has charts where he tracks it on a monthly basis for each year. Those are available, and I'll see if I can give you a link to those reports. Again, a monthly report, so you can see over the years into all the different crime and the numbers, and how they have increased in most cases, unfortunately. But that gives you an idea of how they spend their time and your money. This is inspections. This is even though it's located within the planning department, for budget purposes, it's under public safety. Don't ask me why, but I was kind of surprised by that myself when I first took office. But this is, again, a significant function in the town. These folks enforce the zoning ordinance. So if somebody has an illegal operation or they're violating the zoning ordinance, they go out and make the inspections to make sure folks are in compliance. So you can see that, again, the indicators of the number of years that's increased. Again, the per capita has gone up significantly. It's almost $47 per capita. And the percent of town expenditures, again, almost close to 5%. So that's a pretty significant increase over the years. But again, an important function. Public Works, and I will note, and you will probably be concerned, but there are multiple functions within Public Works. It's just not one. While it's one agency, it's divided or organized into various functions. I'll quickly go through these. So this is administration. These are the folks who run the department. Operations, Public Works, and different specialists. You can see the staffing. We are looking for a new director of operations, actually a new director of Public Works. We have an acting. Unfortunately, our past director of Public Works passed away quite suddenly in September, so we're looking to, we have an interim, and perhaps he'll be the full-time. Again, you get an idea of the indicators of all the things they do. So you can see the per capita number of $60 and the percent of town expenditures, 6%. Let's go to another function within Public Works, that is facilities. So you can see that staffing level in terms of, and then the indicators are buildings maintained, maintenance with contractors, and again, the per capita and the percent of town expenditures. Another function, which is pretty big, again, we have to maintain our fleet of Public Works vehicles, so you can see the staffing of that, their workload and the indicators in terms of their expenditures per capita and percent within the town, total town budget of expenditures. Another function is streets. Public Works has to maintain our public streets, the ones the town owns and maintains. So you can see the staffing level here. And you can see this is interesting, again, in terms of number of street miles maintained. I think that's probably dated. It only goes up to fiscal year 2023. I suspect that's going up significantly with the new development. Sidewalk miles, street signs, those have been replaced. And you can see, again, the expenditure is pretty high, it's significantly increased, as well as town expenditures. Please note that some of the funding we receive to maintain our streets, and you see paving operations sometimes in the spring or early in the fall, we get a significant amount of funding from the state. I think in recent years we've gotten anywhere from $400,000 to $800,000 from the state as highway user revenue. So that's been maintained over the last 2 years. A couple of years ago it was cut drastically. There is some concern whether that'll be cut this year given the state's precarious budget process or budget deficit that are projected. We'll know more in early January when the governor releases his budget. Again, another function within Public Works is parks. Again, they maintain all the public playgrounds and parks within the town. Tillman Lake, Wells Park, and some other ones within the communities. See the staffing level. Actually, it's gone down. We need to look at that again. And then the number of parks maintained and per capita expenditures gone quite up because again it gets expensive when we have to replace things and maintain things. And then percent of town expenditures, you can see that as well. Now let's move on to community promotions. That's where you see all the town events, the summer concert series, all the different parades and functions, Veterans Day parade, all that. So you can see the number of events over the years, from a high of 33 to around 27. Other events that people want to use the town's resources for. And you can see again the per capita as well as a percent of town expenditures. So it's a pretty big function. Folks seem to appreciate that and what that staff does. Excuse me. This is sanitation. Again, this is our trash and recycling services. I know a lot of folks appreciate, I know I do, the recycling because I do recycle a lot. And that's important because then it reduces our need to use a landfill and those tipping fees, which the county has raised last year almost 10 to 12%. So you see the staff that we have to do that function. Here are the indicators to the solid waste and what we collect, what goes to the landfill. Again, you can see all the things that have been recycled. That's a tough market right now, but we are still maintaining that needed service. You can see the per capita cost or the expenditure per capita, and then percent within that enterprise fund. Please note that water and the sewer, and later on you'll see stormwater management and sanitation are enterprise funds. That is, they are funded by user fees. So when I say percent of enterprise expense, that's what that means in terms of the 20% of all our enterprise funds. Let's go to the next one. Again, sewer. And again, we have two functions within that. We have sewer, which we collect it, and then we convey it by the pipes, and also includes pumping stations. So we've done I have on a schedule to replace or upgrade our different pumping stations, some of which is paid by the town, some of which is paid by development when they overtax or they increase needed capacity. They are charged a major facility fee for that. And then we do get some other state grants or loans. But here you can see the staffing of that. And then you can see the mains, lift station, pumping stations, what repairs, emergency calls. That's important. We've had those, and it's probably going to increase again because of the cold weather. And then the per capita, and then the percent of enterprise expense. Another area within sewer, the sewer function is the sewage treatment plant. Again, we have to meet state and federal standards for the outflow of the sewer. We have to have certified workers to run and operate the plant. So you can see the staffing that does that. And then you can see also the performance indicators and workload in terms of wastewater treated, million gallons per day, MGD. It produces sludge, so we have to take care of that. Again, we have to comply with state and federal regs. That's affected by rainfall. And then you can see the expense per capita and the percent of expense of that enterprise fund. So it's a pretty big number to run that system. Next is water. Again, another enterprise fund. You can see the staffing of that. In this case, this is water distribution. That is, we have wells, and we have to distribute it with the pipes. And you can see here the indicators, numbers of pipelines. I think, again, that's a little bit dated. That's only up to 2023. I'm sure that's has increased significantly with new development. We have to maintain the meters, and they do break and they get dated. We maintain and test all the fire hydrants. We react and respond to customer complaints. And again, we have to meet state and federal standards for water quality. I would note under repairs, in November and December, we had 4 major water line breaks, which unfortunately happens at the worst time in terms of the middle of the night, sometimes in the cold. And so the crews have to go out immediately and fix that. so we can maintain the water supply, but also the water pressure. So that's why there's been some delay in some other work because of those unexpected, but they happen, a water line or water main breaks. So again, for water distribution, you can see the per capita cost, per capita, and then the enterprise fund distribution or percentage. And then again, another function of the water is the water production and storage. So again, we have wells, and then we have several towers, the water towers, one at Wills Park, one near the Lowe's, and another one at the end of in the other part of town. That's so we can maintain water pressure within the water system, and we have backup. So again, you can see what the cost is or per capita expenditures, and then the expenditure in terms of that enterprise fund, the percent of that. So we're getting toward the end. Bear with me a little bit. So here's stormwater. Again, a enterprise funds. The town has more responsibility due to a change in state law. We have to maintain all the systems, and then the town, and then we have to maintain a state permit. So you can see the staffing here that's required for that, and we have to meet state standards for that and to maintain that permit. You can see the number of pipes each year that we have to maintain and replace. The outfalls, BMPs mean best management practices. There's a state requirement that we utilize those best practices. And you can see the number of linear feet we have to maintain. And then you can see the expense per capita, and then the percent of the enterprise fund of that is, again, gone up since 2021, but fluctuated around between 8 and 7%. Again, that's a state mandate that we have to do that. So I just wanted to provide kind of, again, a brief overview of what the current budget, the adopted budget, which was adopted and went into effect July 1st of 2024. It ends June 30th, 2025. So in January, we'll begin the process to prepare the next fiscal year budget. And so that's what I provided in my December 16th podcast and video. So the next episode in this series about the budget, I want to provide an overview of how perhaps a citizen should look at the town budget. And then I'm going to follow that by some articles and some studies that talk about financial sustainability and good indicators and ratios that perhaps I think we're using, but you can calculate different numbers, and I want to see and tell you how we're doing as compared to other communities or other standards. So again, I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas, Happy New Year. I hope you get through the cold. As I'm broadcasting or recording this, it's snowing, and so far we got close to 10 inches of snow. So I hope everybody stays safe and be careful out there, because it's going to be cold for the next couple of weeks. So again, thank you for listening and watching my podcast and my videos. And as always, email me your questions and comments at my email address is djenkins@townlaplata.org. Again, stay warm and stay safe. Thanks.